Hello, I wanted to show you a few ways to get high-res images from the internet. You're going to be working on a lot of projects in this class and also in other classes in which you have to find imagery. And if this was if you're working at a design firm or a real world client, you might start here just for image generation. Eventually, you would probably be able to either purchase stock photography or hire a photographer, which is sort of best case scenario. But in this case, just for idea starting or just to start thinking about design and layout, you might go to Google, you might go to FreePic, you might go to, there's a website called Morguefile, in which case you would download something for free that's already available. The reason you wouldn't ever use these for professional use is that if you can find an image on Google, somebody else can find an image on Google, and you want to make sure that your designs are authentic. But for placement only, or especially because you guys are students, there are limitations. So if I'm going to do a Google search, one of the things I will do, actually, sometimes I don't even go to Google. I'll just go up here to my search bar. So say I want to find a picture of cute kittens. So I do my search, and all these images come up, cute images. So you want to go to images, and then obviously we've got tons of images here. And then one thing that I will do is I go to tools and I go to size and I go to large. So you're going to want to make sure in a lot of these cases, even though this is an online class, we still want you to have imagery that could be printed. In which case you want to oftentimes find images that are 300 ppi that will fit the size that you're putting them into. So in the case of, say, a postcard design, you're thinking of 4x6 or 5x7, so you want something that's either 7 inches, 4 inches. You want to make sure at 100% that is big. So if you go to tools and go to large, which I did here, so I go to large, you can also go to advanced search, and what this will do is this will allow you to go to image size. You could put in megapixels. A lot of times, I don't know how necessarily this converts to inches, but I often do larger than 2 megapixels, and I hit advanced search. And so what that will do now is say I think this image is cute. I can hover over here and I can see, oh, this is 3800 by 2800 pixels, which probably is big enough, but the only way you can really tell is if you go into Photoshop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to control click on this image, and I'm going to do open image in new tab. You might have done this a million times before, so if this is all common knowledge to you, you can close the video and stop watching, but and you might do this differently. This is my process. If you found a way to do this that's the same, that's great. But I always open an image in new tab, and then I go to that tab. I can see here right away this is probably going to be a really decent size image. But again, everybody's screens are the different size, everybody's resolutions are different sizes, so you're still not sure. So I'm going to control click on this again and hit save image and just save it to my downloads folder. That'll pop up into my downloads folder. So then my next step is I'm going to drag this into Photoshop just to make sure this is going to be big enough. So I'm dragging it into Photoshop. And then once that opens, sorry, it was closed. This is usually pretty fast. You can just stare at the cute kittens. Okay, so once I'm into Photoshop, I have my ruler set as inches, and you would look at this image and say, wow, this is 40 inches by 54 inches. That's not always the case. That's very misleading. What you want to do is go up to your menu, and I know you can't see it, but it's the image menu, and go to image size. There's a lot of stuff to look at here, and the first thing you want to do is you want to see my resolution is 72. Hopefully you've had this discussion in Design Plus Raster where your resolution for screen, web, apps is usually just 72. 72 is fine. A lot of times people will do 150 just to be safe. But if you're going to print this, if this is going to go to a commercial printer, or you're going to print it even on a copier, you want to make sure your resolution is set to 300 pixels per inch. That is for print. And notice what happened there. Now my width is 12 inches, my height is 9 inches. So that really made the width and the height smaller. I'm going to redo this. So sometimes this little resample key will be hit, the button. If this is clicked and I go to 300, you'll see my size didn't change, and that's bad. And you can see how bad that is because see how everything gets fuzzy? What happens there is Photoshop, to make your resolution higher but keep that same giant size, Photoshop fills in all that information where it thinks it needs to go and makes your image fuzzy. So we're going to go back and always make sure that your resample is not checked. I'm going to put 300 in here and see how this didn't change. That's what you want. You don't want that to change. And now I'm going to hit OK, and you can see my image is now the regular 13 by 10. This is going to be big enough for a postcard, for a magazine layout, probably for, anything else like that. And then, I'm going to click off that background. I'm going to make sure if this is going to print, I'm going to make sure the color mode is CMYK. Just hit OK here, and then I'm just going to do a save as. So when I do a save as, I'm going to save it, obviously on my desktop. I would have a folder with a project in it. You always want to make sure that you change your format to a Photoshop format. And this is for things that are printed. All the things we're going to be working on in our classes, usually, unless you're in interactive or motion or something like that, are going to be for print. So because they're print, you can make these all Photoshop files. So now I'm just going to say Litter of Kittens or Project One or whatever, hit save, and then you've got your full color, perfect size image of kittens. And I'm just going to hit OK here. So that's one way. Any way you download your files from the internet, even if your phone, like say you take a great picture from your phone is probably only an RGB JPEG. You still want to bring that into Photoshop, go to image size, make it 300 ppi, make sure it's CMYK, and then save that again as a PSD file. So I'm going to close out of Photoshop, and I'm going to close out of this. There's a lot of other websites. FreePic, we talk about this a little bit. This is a site that sometimes has some good images that might work for you, but you could also buy a subscription. I think it runs about, if you go to pricing, make an account. You'll have to make a free account. It doesn't cost anything to make a free account. But if you get this essential account, you actually can get better images downloaded that are a better size. So that's, something that you can use. There's also something called Morguefile. This is another website that has royalty-free stock photos and images. Some of them you might have to get a subscription for, but some of them, you still have to make an account, but you can find a lot of good images for free on here. And the last one, and you have access to this through your Adobe subscription, you can go to Adobe Stock, and this is another one. You can find mock-ups on Adobe Stock. You'll have to log in, so obviously I am not logged in, so I'm just going to go back to, I don't know why it's doing this, images. So we don't want to start our free trial. I think it should find some there. So you can see here that I can download a lot of these images. I'm not sure what I was looking. This probably was for one of my course sites. So you can have libraries. You can, do templates. You can look up mock-ups. But this you have access to with your Adobe Creative account. That's another way to look for files. So all of those options you will more than likely be using for print-based projects in this graphic design program. So hopefully this helped. Let me know if you have any questions as you're looking for images or anything like that. But I think the biggest message is, you are students. You do have limited access to this stuff. So, if something is in your portfolio and the future employer says, where'd you get this image? You could just say, it's for position only. I am a student. I don't have access to funds to buy royalty-free images or rights-managed images, and I think that they totally will understand that. So you can find a lot of good stuff this way. And eventually, as you start taking photography classes and you work on the more advanced graphic design classes, we always welcome you to use your own photographs as well. So hopefully this helps. Email me if you have any questions.